Hi everyone, this is Chris from A Bar Above, and today we're going to be focusing on a subject that I've been getting a lot of requests for, and that is barrel aging, so stay tuned. We've done a couple different videos in the past on barrel-aged cocktails, and I realized that I never really explained kind of the core concepts of barrel aging, so that's what we're going to focus on today. Barrel aging relies on the same concepts as infusion. So with infusion, imagine you have a bucket of vodka and you put a bunch of lemon peels in it. What it's going to do is it's going to strip away the oils and the nutrients from the lemon peel, and it's going to impart that flavor into the vodka. Now, if you put a high-proof spirit in this barrel, it's going to do the exact same thing. So it's going to start to pull out the nutrients and the flavor and impart that into the liquid that is resting inside this barrel. Now, all of the same rules apply for infusion as with barrel aging. The higher the proof, the faster and more aggressive the extraction is going to be. So that's one of the basic concepts of barrel aging. But now let's take a look on what happens when you put a cocktail in this barrel. So let's take the example of a Negroni. You know, you have your gin, you have your sweet vermouth, and you have your Campari. And they all have their own kind of identity within the drink, and you can definitely pick out each one of them within the cocktail. You know, you have the herbal quality of the gin, this kind of racy herbal quality. You have this really intense kind of bitterness from the Campari, and then you have the underlying sweet vermouth, which is kind of trying to grab everything and pull it all towards the center. Now, when you put that cocktail in a barrel, what's going to happen is all the sharp edges from all three spirits are going to get pulled towards the center. So, for example, that kind of intense herbalness from the gin is going to be more integrated into the sweet vermouth, and it's going to become a little bit more kind of just placed within the cocktail itself. The same thing is going to happen with the bitterness. That sharp kind of intense bitterness from the Campari is going to be a kind of more of a sweet kind of rolling bitterness that's going to get infused into the spirit. Now the sweet vermouth is going to get a little bit amplified by the barrel, because what's happening now is it's pulling in a lot of the flavor and some of the richness of the vanilla from the wood into the drink. So you had a great cocktail when you put it into the barrel. What's going to happen in a couple of weeks is all of those flavors are going to be a lot more round. The consistency of the cocktail is going to get a lot richer and denser. So like when I made Manhattans in the past and barrel aged them, at the end of the time that they were ready, the first thing I think is, man, I would love these over pancakes because they get that syrupy and that kind of rich and dense. It's fantastic. It's really cool. But that's kind of what you can expect from a barrel-aged cocktail. So when you first get your barrel, a lot of people are just so excited about it and they want to get the process started. So they plug it up, they put their spigot in, they start throwing a bunch of alcohol in there, and they're off to the races. You definitely don't want to do that, and there's a couple of reasons why. First of all, when you first get your barrel, there's a lot of wood chips and fragments inside the barrel that are just kind of free and floating around. You want to go ahead and rinse all those out. So let some water run through your barrel until the wood chips don't come out anymore and the water starts to run a little bit more clear. The other thing that you're going to have to do is there's no plugs installed in your barrel when you first get it. So the top plug is in a little bag, and so is the spigot. So what you want to do is you want to install your spigot now. And this is where you have to be really careful. And there's a recommendation I always do when I get a new barrel is I will soak my spigot in water for about 30 minutes. The reason is it's going to go ahead and soften this wood up. In the past, I've kind of nailed the spigot into the wood or to the barrel, and it's actually split the spigot. And at that point, it's completely useless, and I have to order another one and wait a couple of weeks for it to come, or a week for it to come. So you want to go ahead and soak this up to soften it. The next thing is when I install the spigots into the barrels, I usually put a napkin that I folded quite a few times and put it on top as padding, and then I'll go ahead and hammer it in. If you have a rubber hammer, I definitely recommend that. So now that you have one end closed, you can begin to start to season your barrel and get it ready for alcohol. So what you want to do now is you actually want to pour a bunch of water in the barrel. At this point, it's not really watertight, It can be, but usually it will leak. And the water allows the wood to expand and seal itself. So the water is actually really, really important to making a watertight barrel. It's kind of weird to think about, but the water helps to expand the wood to seal it. So you want to let it sit for about 24 hours, then you drain it, and at that point, you're ready to start putting alcohol in it. Now that we're ready to put spirits in the barrel, let's talk about a few things that's going to affect the final outcome of your barrel-aged drink. First of all, whenever you barrel-age something, the size of your barrel definitely matters. They make these barrels in many different sizes, from 1 to 2 liters, the 5 liter, which is what I'm using, all the way up to thousands of liters when it comes to certain wines and spirit production. So the thing to keep in mind about the size of the barrel is the smaller the barrel, the faster it's going to impart flavor into a drink or a spirit. So with the 1 to 2 liters, for example, it could happen anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks. With the 5 liters, I found that the magic window for me is around 5 to 7 weeks. Now, the other thing to remember is we kind of made the analogy of barrel aging as a type of infusion, which it is, but all of those same principles of infusion apply. The higher the proof of the spirit going into this barrel, the more aggressive that spirit is going to be on the wood. So it's going to pull out those flavors a lot quicker. So just remember that as you're designing cocktails and you're selecting spirits to go in here. The higher the proof, the faster that's going to happen. Now, the last thing to consider is every time you put something in here that pulls flavor out of the barrel, it diminishes the barrel's ability to contribute flavor. So in the very first couple runs of barrel aging, what you're going to notice is a really heavy wood influence. It's going to be super sharp with the tannins and a wood profile, but all of that's going to start to calm down. The first barrel program I ran, it took me about a year, and then at the end of the year, it just wasn't contributing a lot of flavor. So instead of the 5 to 7 week window, it was going towards the 8 and 9, and it wasn't giving the same profile I was looking for. So at that point, we traded everything out for new barrels. And that brings me to my last point here is that if you're going to be doing a barrel program for your bar or restaurant, invest in more than one barrel. The reason for it is it takes 5 to 6 weeks, with these guys to get a final product out. So you don't want to have a product that you sell for a week that takes 6 weeks to produce. It's not fun for your guests to have to wait that long. So what I typically do, what we have now is we have somewhere between 8 and 9 barrels that we just have in constant circulation. When they reach the level, the infusion or the aging that you want, go ahead and drain them and just store them in glass bottles. At that point, they're not going to be imparting any more flavor, and the barrel aging is pretty much done. But that's how you can control your barrel aging process. So now we're going to go ahead and empty this barrel of water, and we're going to start the barrel aging process with our spirit. Now, the spirit that I've chosen to barrel age is something that's near and dear to all of us, and that is Fernet Branca. Now, if you haven't had the spirit, really, you should drink this. It's essentially bartender's crack. But this spirit has reached cult level status with bartenders. It's kind of our secret handshake if we go out to a bar of saying to another bartender, by the way, I'm in the industry, I drink Fernet Branca, we have a lot in common. We should drink together. But if you haven't had this product, it has a lot of sharp flavors to it. It's really intense, and it kind of ties into that Negroni example really well. So there's a lot of intensity of the bitterness that's happening in here. There's a lot of crazy herbal qualities that's going on. And what we're going to notice is over time, a lot of those sharp edges of the spirit are going to start to get pulled in towards the center and get chopped off. So we're going to let it sit for about 5 to 6 weeks. And at the very end, we're going to notice that the density and the richness of it has changed considerably. That those crazy herbal flavors and that intense bitterness is going to start to drop off a little bit. Some of the sweetness that's in the barrel is actually going to help to neutralize some of the bitter qualities of this spirit. So I'm really excited to get this started, and so that's what we're going to do from here on out. So now that the barrel aging is complete, now comes my favorite part of the entire process, and that is quality control. So I've already tasted the Fernet, and believe it or not, what's happened is that it's actually a deeper flavor than before. It's not quite as wild and racy. You definitely get the herbal qualities kind of right there in your face, just like normal Fernet is. But it almost has kind of a life of its own now. The finish almost seems longer, but not quite as intense, if that makes sense. So a lot of the ingredients have become a little bit more subdued, and it's almost as if somebody put a little bit of maple syrup into the barrel. That's kind of the quality of both the body of the spirit and some of the flavors that are happening there. And this is the same thing that I've noticed with a couple other barrel-aged cocktails, is that kind of maple quality to it. It's really, really good, and I'm really excited about barrel-aged Fernet. I think this might be something I continue to do from here on out. So there you have it. We've gone through the barrel-age process from beginning to end and kind of explained some of the theory behind it and what you can expect from a barrel-aged cocktail. Now, I realize that this post was much longer than we typically like to do, but I really hope that the information is there and it's answered a lot of the questions you might have. Like I said, I've been getting more requests for a barrel-aged video than anything else. So for all of you that requested this video, I hope this answers a lot of the questions you have. And thank you for the feedback as well. I definitely appreciate it. And for anybody else, if you have an idea for a mixology video that you'd like me to explore, I always love getting comments and feedback from people. And I'd love to do a video on anything you request in the future. But until then, have a great shift, everyone, and cheers. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, find us on Google+, or visit us at abarabove.com.